You're live.
Hey, how are you? All right, thank you for joining us in the Derech Mitzvosecha here in the Tzemach Tzedek Shul. Today is a very special day. So first of all, thank you to everyone. And second of all, it's a special day. It's a special day in Chabad, it's a special day in the Shul. This is the Rebbe's brother's birthday. Now, 7 years ago, the Rebbe's brother, Rabbi Yisrael, was buried in Tzfas over here. And 7 years ago, somebody came in on Yud Gimel Iyar, the Rebbe's brother's yahrzeit, and stole Rahman al-Islam, the 6 Sifrei Torah. The 6 Torahs over here. Stole them. And there was one Shabbos, so that Shabbos there were no Torahs here. And the next Shabbos there were no Torahs here. And then came Rabbi Yisrael Eilev's birthday. This is a miracle that should be publicized throughout Lubavitch, but for some reason it's not. On Rabbi Yisrael Eilev's birthday, Chav Aleph Iyar, a week and a day after the Torahs were stolen, 3 kids were playing in a churban, in a completely ruined building over here. 3 little kids, and they found the Sifrei Torah. And there was a big celebration. You could see the celebration, some of it even online.
I was there then. I remember this event.
Right. So they found. So number one, it's a good thing it's an amazing story. Hashgacha Pratis, Birkas Tzadikim and their families, and at the same time, it's also a good thing for the shul. With that, we'll pay honor to our host, the Tzemach Tzedek Shul. Another interesting thing happened that's really is important to everyone, not just people in Tzfas. When Rabbi Marzel was rebuilding the shul about 10 years ago, he found and stumbled upon a bear of water, a gathering of mikveh water, about 160 years old, covered up for decades, still fresh, clear, crisp because of the way it was covered up. And this was the bear water of the Hasidim of the Tzemach Tzedek. And now we're undertaking a project to restore this mikveh, to make this a special historical mikveh for, the Shemot Tiferes for Lubavitch in the Tzemach Tzedek Shul. And we ask that people go to Chabad Tzfat, that's Chabad TSFAT.com, see our mikveh project and take part in this wonderful project that's historic and that's special for all of us. So last week we explained Mitzvosecha Tephillin, and we said that it's very different from Talis. The Talis is surrounding us, and we said that the Talis shows on Seviv Kol Almin, Hashem who surrounds the world, who has no intrinsic connection to the world. He cares about the Bnei Yisrael, that we know from Purim, but he himself surrounds the worlds. And then he comes down into Mamale, and the difference between Seviv and Mamale is that is one is surrounding, and the Mamale is like those little fringes of the tzitzis, which are comparable to hairs, to show that the difference between Seviv and Mamale is like the difference between someone's brains and someone's hair that stands out. And therefore, all of the angels that we said that are billions of times smarter than a person, not than the neshama is higher. But then the neshama is too, not the root of the neshama, but all of that is within Mamale, and all of these great worlds that are billions and billions of times the spiritual worlds have more intelligence and more emotion than what's down here. All of these are considered like little hairs compared to Seviv Kol Almin. That is talis. After you put on the talis, we put on the Tephillin, and we said that is already something where Hashem connects with us in a more inner way, inside of our brains, inside of our hearts. And when we put on Tephillin down here, Hashem brings out his mechin, the way he thinks about the world, and his midas that are within the world. Now the Tzemach Tzedek is going to ask a very interesting question.
Which line is it?
We could go to Shehu, which is about 6 lines down from Aleph, 7 lines down from Eis Aleph.
Okay, yeah.
So we receive a certain level of Shehu HaShabbos. If you find the place, you must switch one. That's okay. So Hu HaShabbos, we say that there are holy times, and even holier is the Shabbos, which is a time of holiness for itself. And then it says later in the line, Midas are a little bit different. Midas show on Hashem's actions. Me'acherim, and the way that he deals with others, and the way he is called by others. Chesed. What is chesed? To do kindness with another. And so to mercy. And judgment, and victory, and splendor. We said the difference between victory and splendor is the difference between Hanukkah and Purim. Victory is about Hashem coming out into the world, Hashem winning. Who did he win against? It doesn't matter, Hashem came out. The idea is that he dafka defeated an enemy, dafka got rid of a bad thing in the world. That's the idea for him, dafka to get rid of a malik. His kashrus, wanting to connect with his nasus and lordship. In Yomin is chaberim davar mazul. All of these things are to connect with another thing. A person cannot have chesed towards themselves if they're the only one around. I mean, they can, but it's not much of a chesed. It's not a tremendous emotion. It's more, it's more just just gluttony or whatever it's called. But the same thing, a person can be strict on themselves, but that's limiting themselves. There's no tremendous emotion of strictness upon themselves. That the person has a tremendous emotion when he's being strict on himself. It's not necessarily a good thing. Now when the line starts chasru. Are there any? I think there's a few more svarim if anyone wants to bring. For some people are missing that.
I'll go downstairs.
No, it's okay. I don't want to. Oh no, I don't want to be matriach to that much. So now the Mefarshim had to strive to come up with an explanation on this. How could you say about Hashem that He is kind, that He is severe, that He has rachamim? Hashem, what do we say about Him? Hashem is higher than all of these things. And no matter what we're going to say about Him, like the Alter Rebbe says, when we say, never mind about the midas, but even when we say that Hashem is so high that it's hard to understand Him, or it's impossible to understand Him, the Alter Rebbe says it's actually a ridiculous statement, so ridiculous as if we said that some idea is so high to grasp that we can't apply it with our hands and we can't make it, we can't roll it up. We know that ideas are not things that you can take with your hands and use in whatever way you want them. So too, when we say Hashem is higher than thought, He created the whole idea of thought. Now that's Hashem in thought. When we talk about Hashem in midas, if I would tell you, I knew Einstein, and I knew the essence of Einstein. I knew a lot about Einstein because I once saw how Einstein gave a candy to a 2-year-old. So you would say, I'm sorry, you know nothing about Einstein. Somebody else gave a candy to, the mailman gave a candy to a 2-year-old. What are you talking to me about Einstein? So when we say of all of these Teirim on Hashem, these are things that Hashem put Himself into. And just to even say that about Hashem, and it's a question on the davening. In fact, we had a few weeks ago in L'Kutei Torah some very interesting thing. I'll wait, just one of the participants is bringing some